Good morning, good afternoon, and evening, baseball fans. Welcome back to the Barstool Baseball Show. It is Power Ranking Monday. I am Carl, and I am joined by a panel of handsome, extremely knowledgeable baseball experts in Chris Castellani, Chris Klemmer, and the co-editor-in-chief Hubs. It is Monday. We are 3 days out of the All-Star break, 3 full days of games out of the All-Star break. And we got some moving and fucking shaking, boys. It sounds like we're going to have a nice little show. I thought we'd come in here and just kind of go through the motions, but Klemmer, you came in firing. You got some notes ready to go. Hubs, you got observations. What's going on, boys? How's the vibe?
I mean, I just can't wait to see where the Reds fall on the ranking this week. I know for a fact they got to be on there. I know after the discussion we had, I'm sure they had. I got to be honest, I must have missed the series. I'm sure they had a big series, though, right? Did I miss anything?
This is gonna be Klemmer's fucking victory lap, man. And the thing is, I was
3-game victory lap. Suck my dick, Klemmer.
They lost all 3 games. Holy shit!
We got like 3/5 of the National League Central down our throats over the last few weeks, man. We got Reds fans who were happy with me. They were mad at Klemmer. Now Brewers fans are pissed at me because I called them boring, which I'm gonna stand by. Sorry, you won one series. And then with fucking Cardinals fans who were talking about, I got pissed at a few of us a few weeks back. So the NL Central is just a little bit grumpy. But yes, that was this week or this weekend. It's only 3 games back, right? There were 3 huge sweeps by some teams that are trending upwards and some teams that are trending downwards. So even though it's only been 1 series, I think there's going to be a lot of fluctuation here in terms of the way the top 9 pans out.
Fluctuation,
Klemmer.
Great word, love it. Do you really mean that? You think there's going to be heavy flux?
My top 9 is quite a bit different than it was a week ago.
Mine still doesn't have the Reds on it.
Klemmer, in response to your Reds anger here, I have 2 words for you.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Snell.
As far as being a fit there?
Ooh.
Oh, no, I just want to get under your skin. Blake Snell.
What happened yesterday?
We're talking about Klemmer being the Schwami here as the bet guru. Just doesn't,
by the
does
way,
not
I won
miss.
Today, 18-7 now.
By the way, you got to stop mixing minus 600 double parlay. I'm sorry, I shouldn't do this to you.
Well, we can talk about that for a quick second. I got a lot of shit there. Oh, why would you put Will Benson? Well, because Will Benson doesn't bat against lefties, and they take him out for 2 at-bats of a lot of games. That's why you put him in a prop bet, motherfuckers. So, yes. So, people want to chirp me, that's fine. The bet won. As far as the Blake Snell shift from yesterday, I lost. It was a bad bet by me. Bad pick by me, I guess. But you know what? Like, I don't know. He's thrown more than 82 pitches every start since 2021. So
wow.
I know. I mean, if you're gonna lose, that's what. But I said 18-7 up over 10 units. So I'll take on any.
I'm just shocked that Dave wasn't on the bet.
I know. I was waiting for a text being like, "You idiots." No. I mean, he's in Saratoga this weekend, so luckily he didn't ride me on Saturday.
Okay. I'm sweating out the Yankees playing the Rockies currently in extra innings, so that's what's happening here.
Your team is both of our teams are not very good.
No.
It's a great time in the calendar to be a baseball fan, as Klemmer and I talked about in this week's show, looking at the second half preview. There's some stuff I really want to dive into at the second half. I think that's juicy. Like I said, we only have 3 games to play with the rankings. We did say there's going to be some fluctuation, so we're going to get through this, but there is obviously, we're going to get into the headlines after that. We're going to round table the Shohei stuff. For now, though, I want to get a good 1 through 9. We set the batting order as Castellani, Hubs, Klemmer, and myself. I'm going to repeat that. Castellani 1 and 5, Hubs 2, 6, Klemmer 3, 7, myself 4 and 8. And then we're obviously going to do a consensus 9 pick with that. Castellani, get us going. Who's your number 1 team in baseball right now?
I mean, I'll keep it short, sweet, and to the point. I know they just lost a series to the Chicago White Sox, who are bad, but it's the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves, here's how good they are, is that they lose 1 series, and immediately I'm like, wait, are they okay? And I had to go back and look. I believe this is the first time they have lost a series since they lost to Oakland, ironically, at the end of May. So we're talking a month and a half without losing a series. They have the best player in the National League in Ronald Acuna. their pitching staff, even without Fried, is pretty damn good. Charlie Morton is still spinning that fucking breaking ball, man. He is still dynamite. And they're going to do their thing at the deadline. They have a system in place full of guys that are going to be there until like 2035 somehow. I mean, it's just they're becoming a juggernaut. They've been that way for a minute. They're having a magical season, even with losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. Literally nothing to be concerned about there. They have separated themselves. I'll be real right now, and we'll see. Pending catastrophic injury, I would be surprised if they aren't number 1 the rest of the season. Not saying it's guaranteed they win the World Series. I mean, in these power rankings, I'd be surprised if a team jumps them.
It would take two major injuries to the starting pitching staff. What do you guys think?
I would say around there.
Yeah, I mean, no offense, Chris, but that's not much of a reach. It's like me saying your shirt is red. Like, no shit.
Right.
The Braves, yes, the Braves be number 1 until the end of this. I think that's a pretty safe bet. They're by far the best team in baseball. No argument.
Yeah, I think it would take a We Are Marshall situation to take that.
Holy shit.
Jesus fucking Christ, Hobbs.
That's how good they are. That's how they just plug people in, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
For those of you not watching on YouTube, Castellani is wearing a red shirt. Go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. Braves won, comfortably won. You know what? How about this? I'm maybe a little disappointed in the Braves. It took them this long in the season to become comfortably won. So fuck you guys. I'm just trying to think of like what's the team's so good, the lineup's so good. We're talking about historic home run rates. We're talking about. Honestly, you can rarely say this with baseball teams. The Yankees in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, if they don't go to the World Series, it's like a big time letdown with this Braves roster.
Yes.
And now, what happens when you get to the World Series, I think it's very unfair to say win the World Series. But to represent the National League in the pennant, when you consider the playoff format, the fact they're going to have a 5-game series at home, and then they're going to have home field advantage in the NLCS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be a huge disappointment with how good they are. That's how good I think the Braves are. That's how I think we should be talking about them. Hubs, you're up second.
Now it's time to shake things up. Got the Orioles at 2.
Yep. Attaboy.
Got the Orioles at 2. Now, maybe a little. The Marlins are losing steam, but the Orioles did their job and swept the shit out of them this weekend, and Kyle Bradish today was nothing but spectacular. They just continue to move forward. The Rays didn't have the worst weekend ever. Like they won 2 of 3. It was Royals, but they lost the game to the Royals. I just feel like there is so much more momentum right now with the Orioles than the Rays, and they're only a game back of the division, I believe, as we're talking.
Yep.
I think the Orioles are the second best team in baseball. And they're only going to get better because I think they're going to go get something at the deadline. I think they have no choice but to buy. I have the Orioles at 2.
Yeah, you said the magic word there, Hubs, and that's Kyle Bradish right now for me. So Bradish in May had a 2.76 ERA, June 3.54, and going in today had a 75 ERA, and he pitched brilliantly again today. So there's my whole knock on the Orioles, right? It's like, I don't trust the pitching staff. Is Tyler Wells really the best option? Well, now you got Bradish. And the offense is just clicking. Cedric Mullins did leave yesterday's game. That's a little concerning with an injury. You got to hope he's all right. But other than that, like, there's nothing the Orioles are doing even close. I know the Marlins came back there in that 9th. It's only because the Orioles weren't playing their best relievers. Like, because they had used them all the first 2 games of the series, and then one of them made the All-Star game. So, like, that's why that you didn't see kind of the regular guys being used there. But the Orioles are absolutely unstoppable right now. They are playing the best baseball in the American League. They're my number 2 as well.
Yeah, and I just want to point out one interesting thing I was just looking up about the Orioles as a team. I think guys like Rutschman will ultimately and Gunnar Henderson will end up being stars. They don't have a single player with a WAR in the 3s, but they have 9 players with a wins above replacement of 2 or above. That's a well-rounded bunch right there. And we're talking some of them starting pitching, some of them position players, some of them relievers. Obviously, the back end of their pen has been incredible. I mean, they are, with each passing day, they become closer and closer to the World Series or being a World Series caliber team than we ever thought possible. The deadline will be either their saving grace or their huge downfall, but I'm telling you, they can do it this year. They have a group, they have the chemistry, they have the players to be able to go out and get this thing done, and they are trending upwards as opposed to a team like the Rays that, let's be honest, the last month and a half, not the most inspired baseball. I think right now, given the, and obviously deadline will be telling, right now, I think they are the team to beat in that division. They're only one game back, and they keep fucking winning.
They're a good team. They got a lot of momentum right now. They believe in each other. Manager, man, fuck. Have you guys seen that one clip that came out before the All-Star break of Brandon Hyde pumping up the team and the way he was communicating with the boys? I'm like, we've come out, we've played well, we're going to do this shit, we're going to be doing this shit in October, so enjoy this break and get your fucking minds right for October. I just like that tone in a time when we're just like, when people can be just such pussies about baseball. A huge advantage I love about the Orioles is the fact that I actually think that, like, Brandon Hyde's tough. I think that they handle adversity well. I think it's just like a lineup of Bulldogs. Here's my one thing, and I know we want to move quick. Just like, are they peaking? Like, when I see Austin Hayes in the All-Star game, I'm like, that's nice for Austin Hayes. Or is he an all-star perennially, or is this just like a great moment for these guys? So, right. Not to take away from this season, though, really good for them to be in the second spot. Doesn't sound like we have any fucking – nobody's complaining at all. About that?
One quick note on them. I don't know if you guys see who's pitching tomorrow for them. It's Grayson Rodriguez.
Man, is he back?
Yeah. So how that is going to be big, obviously for a number of reasons. Like, even if, let's say they go out and get somebody, but if he can be effective, he might even be an arm you could use in the bullpen in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But if he's going to come out and still have that 7 ERA, then he's obviously not going to be much help. So that start's really interesting. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that.
How's he been pitching in the minors since he's been down there?
I don't know. That's a good question. Let me look that up right now.
You know what? While you look that up, can I make a flip-flop so I can pick third and you can pick fourth? Because I'd be more interested. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rays third.
Yep. Same.
That's who I had as well.
Okay, so I don't think there's much contention with this. There's a lot of reasons. We talked about them before. The big shakeup this week is that we're willing to say the Orioles have played themselves ahead of the Rays. So
sure.
By the way, Grayson Rodriguez in AAA so far this year, 4-0, a 1.96 ERA in 8 starts.
Pretty good.
41 innings, 26 hits, 56 strikeouts. So lights out.
Fucking Christ, Grayson Rodriguez.
He's one of those guys that's just gonna have to learn on the fly here. There's nothing else to prove down in AAA.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, it's just this is the problem with the big leagues is that there isn't like a quadruple A. Maybe there should be, like, in real time. Maybe they can break this up a little bit more because, you've heard it before. Guys say it's like the big league's like 2-3 levels bigger than it is up there. Grayson Rodriguez, those AAA numbers are ridiculous. I wanted to make the Rays point quickly just so we could get back to the 4th spot. And this isn't like disrespectful to the Rays or these rankings. I said off the top, there's some bigger news I want us to be able to talk about in one of those sacrifices we're going to have to make right now is we just accept that the Rays are third, right?
By the way, Shea McClanahan coming back tomorrow as well. Another thing to keep an eye on.
Is he back? Oh, that's huge.
Okay. That's tomorrow. Huge. So that's a big deal for them.
Yeah.
That helps.
That would be our big takeaway then with the Rays. Okay, so Klemmer, you are 4. Honestly, throw whatever you want. There's some compelling arguments for a number of teams.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dodgers here. This is a team I've been watching this weekend. I got to go to the game Saturday against my Mets, and they just beat the shit out of the Mets. They beat the shit out of the Mets on Friday. But like in all facets of the game, they were better defensively than the Mets. They held the Mets to at 1.3 hits in 17 innings. And this offensively, they knocked us around too. Like, they can just do everything, very well. I do obviously have some concerns about their rotation. We've talked about that ad nauseum on this show. But I from going out there and playing a professional game of baseball, like it's just miles away from my team, which can't really get out of their own way. It was just interesting to watch, like, a really professional. It's like a veteran team go in there and just dismantle another team, almost like in Terminator 2 and Arnold Schwarzenegger is like just breaking people's necks left and right. It's just like so easy, and that's all the Dodgers. The Dodgers just beat us up and just kept walking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I gotta just kind of defend the Dodgers and actually defend some of the teams we talked about here, because if the team that we end up picking 5 is who I think we're going to go with, that means all 5 of these first teams that we selected, these first 5 teams, we have had the same complaint with all of them, and it's their rotation. So maybe at a certain point, it's hard to say, okay, that's an issue when it's an issue that's plaguing every team here. Now, of course,
Are you taking the Rangers?
I will have the Rangers 5.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, is that what you're alluding to? Because you have the
Yeah,
pick.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we have that's the team.
Right. No, for sure.
I have the Rangers 5. I just don't have much of an issue with their rotation, so I'm a little bit confused about that. I mean, Dane Dunning is like 4th in the American League in ERA, so I don't really know.
Yeah, but like, do you think Dane Dunning gets to October and is going 6 scoreless? I like him too, but there's a Valdi I love, but after that, I don't.
You know what? I will say this. I think Dane Dunning is that. I think Dane Dunning is the guy, is the like anti-regression guy that can pitch well in October because of the composure and the command and the mix of stuff. Where if it was like a 2-pitch guy and he had a good run, who remembers Randy Wells in 2007? Come on.
I mean,
yeah, obviously. Thank you, Klemmer. That's a bad comparison. But my point of being where like you see a guy and you're like, this guy is bound to regress. With Dane Dunning though, he has I guess what's the word Klemmer's gonna hate that I'm gonna use? Pitchability. Just a ton of pitchability. Like you throw him out there in like pressure pack situations and the stuff and all that mix. Although I do say that knowing he throws like 91 92.
Yeah.
But who would be the second behind him? Take the 4th in ERA away.
John Gray.
Yeah,
John
right.
Gray
So
is
would you say
definitely
is John Gray legit number 2? Would you let him pitch a second and come out of the bullpen in a 5th and a DS?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think
Castellani looks like he's smelling a bad fart right now.
I like John Gray, but I'm not crazy about giving him 2 appearances in a 5-game playoff series. Like in a start in July against the Mariners, I like him a lot. But we're talking high leverage, high pressure situations. He's started 1 game in October in the past. He sucks shit. I don't even think he made it out of the first inning. So it's like I don't. And again, I like this team a lot. They are very capable of winning the World Series. This is not meant to be a knock on the Rangers. But if we're talking about rotations, I trust going forward, I would put the Dodgers well ahead of them. Just if we're talking about pitching. But at the same time, what makes the Rangers so dangerous, their lineup can beat almost anybody. I mean, that it's a buzzsaw to navigate through. I think that when you get to the playoffs, you're going to get a lot of pitchers who are only going to be going 3, 4, 5 innings at tops against this lineup because you get second, third time through, there's the potential to really get rocked is there. So, look, they've had a wonderful season, even with some of the just so baseball they played kind of going into the All-Star break. They have started to, and they need to make more moves. But right now, Aroldis Chapman's been huge for that bullpen. He's had 4 scoreless appearances. They needed that. I mean, they have lost a lot of games because of some of the bullpen blunders. So, no, it's been an awesome team. And that lineup's fantastic, and Valdi's been great. Now, again, the deadline is always telling, but it's a fun group, man. They've played awesome all year.
No arguments. Done.
No.
I think there's going to be some Rangers fans that are going to be like, what the fuck?
Why?
Because they've been third. We hit, at one point they're 3, at one point they're 4. The run differential is explosive. The run differential is better than the Dodgers. Like they have in some extent they've outperformed the Dodgers. In some extent, in a lot of extent, they have. The Dodgers look better on paper, I think.
I mean, this is a 5 to me. That is a 5 with, a clear 5. Like this is not like, oh, they could be 8, they could be 5. Like the Rangers are clearly 5 for me.
Really?
So I think there's a big drop off between 5 and 6.
I agree, and I think the next 4 are there's going to be a bit of a traffic jam here.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I think the first 5 teams, and then there's a drop off.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
First team.
So who was 6? Who's
Hubs?
It is me. Like you said, you could make a case, I think, for a few teams to be 6. I'm going to give some credit to the Toronto Blue Jays and put them 6.
That's what I had too.
Yep.
I love what they did against the Diamond. Well, actually, I didn't love that because I hate the Diamond. I hate the Blue Jays. But they were very impressive this weekend. They got another good start at Barrios. Bassett looked very good. And then the day when Kikuchi went, he doesn't give them length, but then their bullpen comes up for the most part and does the job, aside from Mitch White. But their offense is rounding in the form. They've got that Manoah start under their belt. We'll see what he does and builds off of that. But they are trending up their offense and their lineup. When you look on paper, it's like, well, this team should be doing what they just did this past weekend. So I like where the Blue Jays are at. I just also saw that they are going to be very interested in Marcus Stroman. So prepare your photoshops for that one. Um, but he seems like a good guy for them to add and make that work again. I there's a few other teams here that we're probably going to name right after this. That could be 6. I just like where the Blue Jays are trending.
It's such a bizarre team because they're finally playing like we always feel they should be playing like. They're such a talented group. They have, a lot of different all-stars, and throughout the season you kind of look at the numbers and you're like, God, I feel like they should be better than they are. You have Gosman, who's an ace. I'm really glad you brought up Jose Barrios because a lot of people seem to just dismiss him after the year he had a season ago. He's been a huge piece for them. He's got a 2.69 ERA over his last 17 starts. I mean, that's a large sample size. Is he a 1? No, but he's pitched some really good baseball for him. They're starting to hit the ball out of the fucking ballpark, too. I mean, Vladdy Jr., first at bat back, I think, homered after winning the Derby. I mean, that can be, when every one of those guys is firing and seeing the ball well, that can be a top 2-3 lineup in the entire sport. And they finally seem to be playing with some confidence and some consistency. That's been the most annoying part about them is they'll have a series like what they just had where you're like, God damn, they're world beaters. And then, they'll drop 2 out of 3 at home against Boston or some, schmuck team. Boston's not that bad, but you get my point. Like you said, they're starting to round into form. Good group, confident group. More experience than people let on. I mean, this is the 3rd year in a row where they've kind of been in the mix here. If there's a team that I could see rising up these rankings by the time we get to the end of the season, I could see it being Toronto. The one thing that kind of gets in the way is how good the rest of that division is. I mean, there's 2 teams in the top 5 that they're looking up at, but they're not afraid of anybody. So yeah, that was a great series against Arizona.
What do you mean when you say they're not afraid of anybody? Do you think there's any do you think like the Pirates are afraid of somebody? Do you think like the Padres are like, ooh, we're afraid of these guys?
I'll give you an example. I think the Seattle Mariners are terrified of the Houston Astros. I think that when they and you saw it in the playoffs last year, they had leads in those first 2 games, and there's always, and I experienced this as Tiger fan as well against certain teams. There's always that mentality in the back of your head that something's going to go sideways. I mean, I
think there's like some relief pitchers I think there's like bad pitches and guys make good swings, but I don't know about that characterization. I like the Blue Jays a lot in a situation. I think they have momentum, and I think one thing to key in on is the way that they bounce back and roll out of this All-Star break. And if somebody can really emerge and like take control of that team, because they have a number of great players, but it's an amalgamation of great players that are, I think, waiting for someone else to do something. Klemmer, you said you don't like their manager.
I don't love their manager. No, he had a good series. They had a good series this weekend. I'm excited about the Blue Jays though because they're getting. I always mispronounce his name, Hyunjin Ryu. They're getting him back.
Holy shit! I forgot about him.
He's nasty.
He's in AAA right now, so they might have him back by the end of the month. So if they get him back in August, they make a trade for somebody. They're even more loaded. And like Chris was saying, like this is one of the most talented teams in baseball. Like I think their roster, I would put up almost against, maybe except for the Braves. I put that 1 through 26 up against anybody. I'm surprised it's taking this long for them to click, but maybe they're just like that second half team that kind of turns it on. Yeah, if they don't, that's why I'm so annoyed with John Schneider, because I think this team has so much talent. And before at the All-Star break, I'm like, what the fuck? Let's get it together, guys. Maybe now they're clicking it in.
If George Springer decided to play like an MVP candidate, I shouldn't say it like that, but should he develop, or should he put his shit together? If Brandon Belt was his highest performing self, they're far removed from the Braves, but their lineup is very stacked. I think they should get credit for that second tier group. So obviously if the Braves lineup stood alone at the top and ranking them, then the Blue Jays would definitely be in a mix of, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 other teams after that.
Yeah. To me, the key to their success is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. reverting back to the player that we saw 2 years ago. If we can get a semblance of that, just getting the power numbers up, because his OPS should not be in the high 700s. It's not. He's got some of the most insane power I've ever seen. If he returns to being what he was for about a year and a half there, a top 10 hitter in baseball, it makes everyone else in the lineup infinitely more dangerous. So yeah, no, they're in a good place right now.
All right, I'll go next. 7. Are we 7 here?
Yeah,
yep.
7.
All right. And if we're moving through these picks a little quick, I apologize to the audience who's just still like, why we have, there's bigger, broader MLB news I want to get to and get opinions from the rest of the guys. So we're just Astros. I have 7 Astros.
Yep.
We had them
Me too.
5, I think, going the All-Star break. So I think it'd be like criminal if we were sitting here at the end, throw them at like that. That's very disrespectful to do that to them. So they're a couple games back of the Rangers right now. I I feel like what's there to say that hasn't been said? The lineup has been obviously terrible and underperforming. They need to get Jordan Alvarez back. Jose Altuve came back. Now he's hurt. He's going to be coming back soon. So I think it's just a matter of time until we're coming in here and talking about the Astros representing the American League Independent. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, they're going to remain the boogeyman for a lot of teams until proven otherwise. You talk about that lineup. Can I give you a guy who's just not impressing me at all? And I think at some point, it won't be this year, but I think that he's built up so much goodwill that he's kind of blinded people from his flaws. I'm just not very impressed with Jeremy Pena.
Okay.
I understand.
I thought you were going to say Bregman, but Pena's in his second full season.
Yeah, but I get, and you're not going to get rid of him. But the problem is, and this is the Dusty Baker special. He's batting second. He has a terrible feel for the strike zone. He does chase more than almost anybody in baseball. Good player, good mental makeup. Obviously, dude, the guy was ALCS and World Series MVP last year. But I've seen him in big situations this year put together some really poor at-bats. Now, we talk about deadlines ad nauseum. The fact is the Houston Astros are going to make one of the biggest moves at the deadline, and they don't have to trade anybody because they're going to get Jordan Alvarez back. And I know he's been out for a while. It can't be overstated the way the entire dynamic of that offense changes when he's in there. He is one of the 3 to 5, and I'm probably lowballing it there, most feared hitters in all of baseball. He's going to make everybody better. They have a tendency to play a little bit sloppy, whether it's in terms of pitch execution late in games or errors. They made a god-awful error that cost them the ball game last night, but still fucking Houston. They're still going to win a lot of games. Valdez is still going to lead that rotation. They're in a good place right now. As long as they're within striking distance when Jordan comes back, they're going to be in great shape.
So I just want to go back to Jeremy Pena for a second. A second-year guy that did a tremendous amount of, damage in the postseason as a rookie, making $750,000. That's bringing his glove to work every day. It would just – I don't like turning it on him and being like, well, this guy should be better. When they've battled through so much. If he was dog shit and he wasn't playing well and he had a bad relationship with teammates around him and stuff, then you'd be like, oh, then the success got to his head. But
correct.
I still think there's obviously a ton of room for him to grow. And the bigger red flag, I'd be like, Jose Abreu should just fucking retire. He should surrender the rest of that contract.
He's been awful. With Jeremy Pena, though, to go back to him for a second, it is only his second year. He is nearly a 2-WAR player. I'm not saying that's great, but it's pretty decent. He's a pretty solid shortstop. I guess to Chris's point, he hasn't improved, and sometimes you like to see guys at least take a little step up. He's been pretty much neutral. But I don't know. He's only 24. I mean, sometimes it takes that third year to kick in. But the Astros, though, I know we're all like, oh, it's the Astros, and they'll turn around. There's less than 70 games left now. At some point, you do have to kind of kick into a different gear here, and you kind of can't keep on waiting for Jordan for forever here. So you'd like to see them get better faster, but you're right. They're still in the thick of things, and I had them 7th as well.
They played a great – oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hub. Sorry.
Not just quick on Pena, not to harp on him, but he had a 715 OPS last year.
Yeah, that was a good point. Yeah.
He got we've talked about this before. His calling card when he came up was wizardry glove work, and that's what we've seen. Won a Gold Glove last year, is a great defender. I don't know if we could take for example Kiki Hernandez, for the Red Sox 2 years ago when they were playing they got knocked out by the Astros.
Yeah.
Went nuts, hit a home run every 3 at bats, whatever. Just got hot. He's not I see Red Sox tweets that want him cut from this current team. Some people just get red hot in October. Some people are born for October and just can't do it over the course of a whole season. It's only year 2, but I'm just saying it's a little unfair to kind of hold Pena to the expectations of just what he did in October, because over the course of the whole year last year, he was a 715 OPS guy. I think he had one really, really good month in 2020
Yeah.
2022, and everything else was kind of blah. Kind of what you're seeing now. So he's always going to be a Gold Glove shortstop, and that's awesome and provides so much value in itself. And whatever you kind of get out of the bat is whatever you get. But like, I just don't think the expectation should be so high on Pena.
That's a very fair point. I mean, that's incredibly valid. I guess his flaws as a player have become more noticeable this year with the offense regressing and the fact that like there's multiple shortstops in baseball that have this issue. Is there's not a great feel for the strike zone. He's not going to draw a ton of walks. So when those numbers dip, I mean, it's going to be kind of ugly. He's got a 300 something OPS over the last week. So, I'm not like, I don't want people to take it out of context. It seem like I'm advocating for.
Yeah. He's got a lot of Javi Baez to him.
Right.
A lot of Javi. Now, hopefully it's like but like hopefully it's less of the the not giving a fuck type deal. Like he's on the Astros. They have a winning championship culture there. I don't really have worries about that. But everything else, kind of, poor recognition of strike zone, great fielder, kind of syncs up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the Astros this season are a good representation of what baseball fans should aspire to, because even though when they're like, your club is down and they're not firing on all cylinders and you're waiting for this and you just lost a historic that and you're coming off a championship, like, dude, they're still battling their dicks off and they're still a wagon and they're still like when the time comes and like it all matters, they're going to be there. Like God forsake, there's like major injury, but as Cubs fans, like, God, that'd be fucking awesome. I remember it was like as soon as things crumble, like, no, they battle through adversity. Yeah. And like I said, there's probably a point in time later in the season we look back and we're like, fuck, dude, like that. We said the Astros were 7th. Okay, so Klemmer, you're up 8th.
Okay, so I have the Reds. No, I'm just kidding. I don't, because they're not on the list. Because I was right. Number 8 is the Giants. I'm gonna go with the Giants here.
Great pick.
Yeah, I think so. I'm really happy with how well they've been playing. We talk about this, a few times in the show now. Just the depth of their roster is really impressive to me. Obviously, I really like that starting pitching a lot. They just do a lot of things right, and they came right out of the break, and they took care of business against the Pirates the first 2 games. How did they do today? They won today, so they swept that. They won in 10 innings, so they swept that series against the Pirates. Pirates are a pretty bad team. I said that also back in April, and you guys all laughed at me. That's okay. It just takes time.
I don't think so.
Eventually, I get to notch these things on my belt. It just takes a little while. That's all.
I don't think any of us said the Pirates are a good team. I think we said it was cool when they started 16-7 because they had them
on their fucking list.
Because we literally said
7.
We said every time we put on the list, let's do this because we're not going to be able to do it later in the year.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah.
Is that what we said about the Reds too? Man, I missed that part.
No, I reward good play. Right. Dude, the Reds lose 2 one-run games, and you're over here jerking them.
No, they won. They lost. No, let me check here.
They lost 4-3.
They lost 3 games though, Carl. 3 of them were losses though. They didn't. How many have they won since the break, Carl?
They're 0-3 since the break. With 2 one-run losses. So if you're going to be a baseball fan that wants to fucking light the pitchfork or whatever and go to town, knock your socks off.
You know what, Carl? You're right. I apologize. It's it's not like no,
don't apologize.
Wait a second. It looks like the Reds played the Giants next. Ooh, that's tough because I have the Giants 8th on my rankings. I think you guys all do too. So the Reds could be in for a rough week.
If the Reds sweep the
good thing they have to play the fucking games, Klemmer. Good thing they have to go out and compete against each other. And we as fans are lucky to watch these guys go into battle against each other. Don't be sitting here all fucking jerking yourself off just because the Milwaukee Brewers took 3 fucking games, you son of a bitch.
I'm gonna enjoy it.
If the Reds,
you know that you are a sick fuck. You sat around all weekend and cheered against the Reds just for this moment. I want you to know, kiss my ass.
I sure did. You bet I did.
If the Reds sweep the Giants, the amount of scorched earth takes that we're gonna get this week is gonna be biblical. But yes, you are very correct with your assessment. I thought you might go with another NL Central team at that spot, but I think the Giants have gotten very much overlooked. The Dodgers will remain the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks have been the flashier team, but the Giants have their fucking system with their platoon guys, with their pitchers. There's not a whole lot of stars there, but it doesn't matter. I mean, Kapler's done a good job. They play the numbers.
Balanced baseball, dude. It's the most balanced lineup. Pull up their baseball reference page right now. If you don't have it, if you're listening to this right now, pull up the baseball reference page for the 2023 Giants. Look at the OPS pluses for their qualified hitters And who's on the IL for 60 days?
Haniger.
Yeah, so take Mitch Haniger out of there. So 9 of their 10 OPS pluses. The only one under 1010 or 109 to 110 or whatever it is. I think it's Brandon Crawford, 78, 80. Okay.
Who,
1010.
let's be honest, is there because they weren't able to get Correa. Like,
they have Blake Sable, Wilmer Flores, and Austin Slater, all in theory on the bench, who have OPS pluses of over 100. I will say the Braves have a deeper lineup, have a better lineup, and a longer lineup. But other than the Braves, the Giants have as much depth in their lineup as anybody else.
Yeah, from a starting pitcher's perspective, they have the least amount of gaps or like deep breaths after the Braves. But they don't.
The Rangers. I might put the Rangers in that mix
okay,
too.
But just for the National League. But there's not nearly as much threat in the Giants lineup as there in the Rangers and the Braves. But for the quality at bat that you get from the opposition, is just through the fucking roof.
They'll wear you down. They really will.
And from a pitching standpoint, I mean, they're always good with that. There is no organization that I can recall in baseball that is better at turning around or getting the most out of veteran pitchers. I mean, how good has Alex Cobb been? He's been fucking fantastic.
Great story from Kevin Gossman that he told on the show last year, where he was saying he was like back with Cincinnati and coming off a trade or something, like no confidence at all. And when the Giants acquired him, they were like, "Hey, this is going to be crazy, but we just want you to be a 2-pitch guy." And they started talking about seam shifted wake movement. And he's like, I had never heard of this. And I was on the front edge of like learning about baseball analytics. And so as a long story short, Gossman had said that the Giants introduced him to data analytics he had never heard of before. And it was about how the ball interacts with the air forces around it. And that it's a God-given way of how God-given, but it's like just the way you release the ball. And so, like, certain pitchers are able to release the ball in a way where the air impacts it a certain way and yada, yada, yada. And so they're like, listen, you're the perfect candidate to throw a split change. So we want you to continue, like, develop this more, throw it more. And so if you look at his splits, when he went to San Francisco and it was like he signed a 1-year deal with them. And so they were like, all right, we just want you to throw this pitch as much as possible. And so going back to using Kevin Gossman as one example, just think of like what they tell Lamont Wade Jr. when he comes in, and fucking Mike Yastrzemski and all these different, like the island of misfit toys as they get to the Giants.
Yes.
I don't know to what extent they have like crazy information. And I'm sitting here being like, why can't the Cubs do this? This is why the Mets have 9% of their draft picks go to the big leagues and stuff. And where do the Giants fit on that list? Top 10, I'm sure.
Well, and who was the GM for the Giants at the time?
Don't do this to me.
When I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, of course."
Well, I mean, was it Scott Harris?
Yes, sir.
Fuck.
Same guy who turned Michael Lorenzen into an all-star. Just saying. I mean. Maybe that some of that culture is starting to translate. That story makes me very excited about the future.
Yeah, I like the organization. I mean, I gravitate towards organizations that reclaim projects.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Harris, especially, not to make it too Tiger centric, has really honed in on that. I mean, we've picked up 4 or 5 guys off the scrap heap that have been contributors. So yeah, I mean I feel like the Giants, so even before that era, they've always been ahead of the game with pitching. I mean, you go back to those early 2010s teams, just the amount of guys, the amount of aces they had, getting the most out of their pitchers, finding guys, getting Ryan Vogelsong from, I think it was Japan, and he had that awesome postseason. They are as smart as any organization in baseball, and they've had a sneaky great year. Very interested in what their deadline will look like, because I feel like no one's talking about them. But they could easily put themselves in the thick of the World Series conversation if they make a huge move, especially, I mean, if they get a good pitcher like a Stroman, somebody like that, and they incorporate the analytics and the video stuff that they have with a pitcher like that, look out. That division's up for grabs.
Well, I've got a name for them to go through. I think we're going to do a big conversation on them later, but they should be very much in the mix for Shohei Ohtani.
I was just going to ask you guys, do you think, based on the fact that they had the money to spend on Correa,
they want to spend so bad.
Well, they did spend, though. Don't forget, though, they spent
I know,
a lot of money.
What did they do? Michael Conforto?
Conforto, Haniger, Minaya.
But none of that is like long-term money.
Yeah, that's
I'm
not
saying
correct.
if they were willing
Ross
to dump
Stripling,
all that money into
Rogers.
you,
Okay, but
get over Ross Stripling, will you?
They spent money on him though.
right. But Klemmer, what's the longest contract they handed out?
It's got to be
3 years, 4?
4 probably, right?
Okay, so like that doesn't stop them from spending.
Right.
I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. I think one way is you're right, like the long-term stuff, but the short-term money though, all those guys, I just named 5 guys, they're all signed for at least 2 years, right?
Yeah, but like
So, you're gonna have to go over the luxury tax.
But I think they're like prepared to do that. If they were so in on Judge the way they were and Correa, I think they're told like they're in full like, yo, let's go win. Like the Dodgers, as you know, we have the Dodgers ahead of them, but they're not the old Dodgers where like they're going to win 115 games.
Yeah.
Like it's a winnable NL if you, like Chris just said, like seriously add.
They're paying Mitch Haniger $20 million next year. Oh,
I
wow.
don't think that's stopping
way.
Wow.
No.
Was he ever that good? I know he made like one.
No.
Now it was done. It's called like luxury tax math. It was $8 million this year, $20 million
All
next
right.
year.
Well, that's different. That's different.
But then it's a $15 million player option in 2025, which he obviously is going to take. And
Right. Mitch Haniger at the time was Mitch Haniger worth 3 years and $44 million. 43.
Could he?
If the Mets went outside Mitch Haniger for 3 years and $43 million, would you be mad?
Probably not. At the time, no. If they signed
And
him,
you're always advocating for owners to spend more money. So here's a classic example of a homegrown guy who played for a shitty team, who did well, crushes lefties.
Look, don't confuse my points here. I think every team should go out and get Shohei Ohtani. I'm just talking about the realities that teams do not typically want to spend over a certain threshold other than Cohen. And when you have that sort of that ceiling there, and like I said, I don't think you're right. These are all short-term deals. But there's enough short-term deals that's going to make next year, the 2024 and 2025 payrolls, if you go out and get Ohtani, are going to be very high. And I don't know if the Giants are going to commit to that. That's my only point. I think they should.
Yeah.
And that's free agency. But do they have the pieces in place for a potential trade this year?
Let's find out once we pick our 9th team.
Yeah, let's get to 9. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so this is a consensus pick. I think there's a bunch on the board here. I don't know if there's a reason the Diamondbacks got swept. If you guys want to throw the Diamondbacks in there, obviously. I think the Brewers have probably earned it.
I have the Phillies.
I have the Phillies.
I have the Diamondbacks.
Phillies right now. Chasing. About to lose to the Padres. Fuck.
They did just give up a run as you were saying that sentence. They gave up a sac fly.
I know. Okay, so let's take the Phillies and just completely shit on the NL Central.
Yeah, I'm fine with it because I don't respect the Brewers. I just don't. I don't consider that lineup like worthy
You're right.
of much.
I would be out of my mind taking the Brewers over this.
This is a Klemmerism. Sorry, but if the Phillies played the Brewers right now in the playoffs,
You're
I
right.
would very much favor the Phillies. I like the Phillies' chances.
It's not a Klemmerism when it's fact. Like, you are correct about that. And the thing is, with the Brewers, a lot of Brewers fans are mad.
It is a Klemmerism because it's a fact.
Right. Yes. The Brewers fan, man, if there's a Brewers fan out there who really loves going to the movies, that person might end up killing me, seriously. Because I had Brewers fans in my fucking mentions all week because I called them boring. And the fact, wonderful series. Beat the piss out of the Reds. They're playing really good ball. They're in the driver's seat to win that division. I think they have a 0% chance of winning the World Series, is my thing. And that's my hard part with putting them on this list, is I know with the Phillies, and we go back and forth about pedigree, I have seen this Phillies team, the same core, make it to a World Series and get hot. Until proven otherwise, and until they start fucking hitting left-handed pitching, I'm not going to.
Though. Actually, bizarrely, they are hitting left-handed pitching, but then they stopped hitting right-handed pitching.
That's a great story. Yeah, that's a great dichotomy. Let's keep it on the Phillies, though, because we're talking about the Phillies as the 9. We'll go back to the Brewers and honorable mention. Well, I suppose to go back to him then, I just want to emphasize, I am a moron for thinking casually that the Brewers could compare to the Phillies then in that case, because the Phillies lineup is that much more dynamic. Like rolling into a playoff series, any way you want to price it, as 5-game series, 7-game series, who would finish with a higher season win total? I think it'll be also one of the huge issues with the Phillies to start the season, pitch tempo. And I think you've seen that trend. Like, I think you've seen their starting pitching trend into it and learn and grow into it. Like, I don't think that you've seen guys get worse over the season. I think you've seen guys generally get better between Wheeler and Nola, I should say specifically.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. What I want to see them do is I want to see them make a move for a starting pitcher, though. I want to see them go and get Giolito, go and get somebody else, because that front four is very good with Nola, Wheeler, Walker, and Suarez. But they don't. Christopher Sanchez to me isn't like. And also, what if someone?
What about Bieber? What about Bieber?
Well, he's hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anyone touches him now.
No, he's got forearm issues.
Yeah,
that are very, and I think could kill the Guardians' chances. Because if Bieber's out for a long time, I think the Twins are going to walk through that division.
Their offense fucking sucks, dude. I mean, yeah, it's. I put money on him yesterday. That's why I was mad. But it's not good at all. You take J-Ram off that offense, it's a bottom feeder in the league. You know, I'm with you on the Phillies, and I believe in the Phillies. I do think when we talk about Nola and Wheeler, we have a tendency to base it more off of pedigree as opposed to how they've pitched this year. Nola has not been very good this year. He's been fine. He's pitched a lot of innings, but his ERA isn't great. Wheeler will come around, and Taijuan Walker's been solid for them. What is surprising to me and why I actually have more faith in them right now than I did even at this point a year ago, their bullpen's seen improvements. You know, I'm not like they went out, they got Gregory Soto, who I'm not crazy about from the Tigers, but they traded for him. And one guy I got to point out here, guys, Craig Kimbrell's turned the clock back 10 years. Craig Kimbrell, since I got the numbers, I wrote a blog about it today. Since
you did write a blog. Good. Yep. Promote that blog. Yep.
Thank you. Yes. Craig Kimbrell since May 9th has an ERA of 1.04. He's got 41 strikeouts in 26 innings. I mean, all of a sudden, he's turned into their closer there. They're one of those teams, and I've seen it happen many times with Dave Dombrowski teams for some reason, where it takes them a while to round into form, but that second half is kind of where they get hot. And I think ultimately with that lineup being as streaky as it is, I think they're going to go on a bit of a streak or a winning streak here at some point in the near future and comfortably put themselves in the postseason.
So I want to talk about Aaron Nola for a quick second.
Because I want to get – there's a couple of really big trade things I want to get to.
I know. I just Nola for a quick second because Chris said he hasn't been good. He hasn't been good. And it's very important for the Phillies that he is good, obviously.
Right.
So I always like to look at the data and be like, well, why is he bad? What happened? Like, if you look at his whip, it's not that much worse than last year. Last year, obviously, it's very good. His control is still great. Maybe not as great as last year, pretty close. And the hit spreading pitch is pretty strong. For some reason, he's giving up more home runs than ever before. He's 21 home runs, leading the National League in home runs given up. And for me, when I see that, I think, okay, he's going to be all right. That's something where if he gives up 6 less home runs, say, that's 6 bad pitches, the stats look much different. I think that's easy to fix. That's 21 mistakes. That's not too many mistakes. You know, he's still a guy. He's always going to give up 15 to 20 home runs a year no matter what. We just know that about him. Maybe even 25 on a bad year. But he shouldn't give up 30 or 35. I think Nola turns it around because the problems have just been the home run ball. Everything else is okay. I think Aaron Nola, you see him have an ERA under 3.8 in the second half of the season.
That's fair. No, I mean, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's a good call out for him. I also want to point out that last year is by far the most taxing season on his arm. Yes. And, you know, we're talking about guys making deep playoff runs. Is a whole other month of the most strenuous pitching that they've ever experienced in their entire life. So maybe there's a little bit of that involved to go with other stuff. But really, you know, I think we all agree the Phillies can be much better than they are, but we like them here at 9.
He threw nearly 20 more innings last year than any other year in Major League Baseball because of the playoff run. And I think you absolutely have to consider that. And if you think I'm wrong, check out league leaders of innings pitched and look how they did the next year. For instance, the year Strasburg led the league in innings pitched, the year after is when he got hurt. You'll see when guys exceed it by that much of a threshold, you do see sometimes insane injuries. Now, that's not the case with Nola. Nola's healthy, obviously.
Yeah, but Sandy Alcantara is another great example right now. Throwing 8-9 innings last year. It's great. Okay, so we missed last week, and this is really like a huge – I mean, honestly, guys, we could be like sitting on one of the biggest stories in the history of baseball, which is a Shohei Ohtani trade deadline move, which seemed, maybe they should do it, they shouldn't do it, they will do it, we're not going to do it. And now it's like, I think everybody's kind of sitting around waiting for it. So I have to go to Hubs first off. All right. So, like, Jeter made the comments during the All-Star game that, like, they got to go out and get Soto. I know, giggle, laugh, and all that
Well, the
stuff.
Padres already said, like, we're adding.
Yeah.
We're not going to trade. Yeah.
But, like, let's start with you.
Mhm.
Ohtani to the Yankees. Can you put a 1 to 10 on it, a percentage here?
2.
Okay.
And that might be high.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you say that because the Angels are not trading him?
Art Moreno's a moron. So,
Yes.
like, I don't expect him to do the right thing at all, ever, for anything. So, the clear as day move is to trade Ohtani because he ain't signing back there and you ain't making the playoffs. So, what the fuck are you like? What, we care about tickets for the rest of the year? Like, this is it. So, you have a chance to get like a legit haul. And that's only if a team is willing to even do it, that's another story, which I'm sure we're going to peel back here in a second. But the Angels 100% be trading him. I don't think they will. I also don't think, now that you see the reports, I forget who originally said it, maybe Rosenthal. Oh, sorry, it's Buster Olney. Don't trust him at all. But like nothing out of the word of Passan other than like, the Yankees will be.
Passan was leaning toward Yankees a little bit.
But, like, it was blown out of proportion of what he actually said. Like, there was Reddit shit. And, like, no one could find the SportsCenter clip for some reason. I actually had a guy who works for SportsCenter go back and find it for me. Unintentionally. I didn't ask him. He just tweeted me, yo, I work for SportsCenter. This is what he said. Anyways, I don't think the Yankees are going to do it. I think it will cost them way too much. And, like, for the amount it would cost them, they're not going to. I think it would have to be Volpe. I think it would have to be Dominguez. I think it would have to be Austin. I think it would have to be an insane amount. Like the original trade offer there, was it Bowden who said it? 2 top 30 prospect in your system.
No, it's
two
Samson.
MLB.
He's an idiot.
Samson, sorry. Samson. They're both idiots, to be fair. Bowden's a moron as well. But like that's not going to. It's going to cost you 2 to 3 top 10 guys in your system. And then maybe an MLB player. Like I think it would just have to be an insane haul. Would I do it? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's terrifying though because you're not going to get him to sign an extension right now. What you're going to do is you get him for the 2 months and maybe into October if your team gets there to say like, hey, you may have had a predisposition of this city, but now that you've lived here for 2.5 months and you see the culture in this clubhouse, this organization. Don't you kind of love it? Like, wouldn't you just sign here? Rather than if he just stays in LA or gets traded elsewhere, your chances diminish greatly because he don't fucking know about your place. You're banking on basically bringing that culture to him and changing his brain, which is such a gamble when you factor in the prospect haul that it's going to take to get him. There's so many pros and cons to this, but at the end of the day, I think you roll the dice and it's Shohei Ohtani. Are the Yankees getting him? I would be stunned beyond belief if they were.
I have a question, and then I want to make a point. My question is there any concern with it's been 3 straight starts now. These finger blisters seem to be popping up. I mean, if as much as I love Ohtani, his value as a player does diminish if he can't pitch. Like you're essentially trading for a great hitter, and I love him. But I'm saying we're talking about unloading some not just great pieces in your farm system, but you're talking about Volpe, who was like for years lauded as the shortstop of the future. Do you think any team will have any concern with that you could lose a heavy piece of what?
Yeah, how can you not? Because that's such a gamble. If a pitcher blows his arm out, you lose him for a year and a half or whatever, and that could easily happen. It has happened. Right. So, and you're right, his value does diminish greatly, and it's a huge prospect haul, no doubt, of course. And I think, by the way, I think the whole Volpe thing, he's great. I do like him a lot. He was lauded so high to disguise how cheap they were and how they didn't want to go into the shortstop market. Yeah. So like I think I really don't think they would like bat an eye. I don't think they will trade him, and I don't think he would be even on the table. But like for me, like it's Shohei Ohtani. This is a whole different ball game. And one last thing before anybody else talk, because I've been talking for 10 minutes here. The reason why I would strongly encourage a deal for Shohei like that and not care as much about the prospect haul is because Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge have about 2 to 4 years here of this window of like them being at the peak of their. Right. You can't afford to wait and hope that a prospect is going to turn out. So that like you have to just go nuts with this window. That being said, this fucking team just lost 2 of 3 in Colorado, and they ain't worth fucking shit.
Yeah.
No, I think honestly, of all these teams, so first off, Hubs, if the Angels decide to actually trade Ohtani, there's going to be a number of suitors. It doesn't
So
matter
many.
if it's only for 2 weeks or 2 months. No question. This is a very special situation.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees, I hate the Yankees, right? I hate them so much. I'm so happy they lost again. Like, as we were taping this, they lost.
I hate you.
Smile on my face. Like, that's funny because fuck the Yankees. So I hate them. The Yankees make by far the most sense. And I say by far the most sense for a few reasons. A, Volpe would absolutely have to be in the deal. But the good news is they have someone literally waiting in the wings who they could just plug right back into shortstop.
What's his name? Say his name.
Peraza. Oh, Oswald Peraza?
Oh, you got it right because there's an Oswald and an Oswaldo. You got it correct.
I always get that wrong.
He, by the way, came in and drove in a run late in the game today, and that was a bullet of a line drive. Why
Clemmer, I'm
him
fucking
sitting down
proud of you, man. See how you get better at saying names over the course of the season? It's almost like baseball players can get better, and they're not just who they are because you fucking think so.
That's a weird read, but yes.
He's Colin Firth in the King's Speech.
I'm also not going to crown Klemmer here for the pronunciation because it's an easy name to pronounce. It's just getting the right guy. There's an Oswald and an Oswaldo.
Yeah.
You can't really botch the actual name Oswald.
So I got another thing right is what we're saying. So that's good for me. No, all kidding aside, I think the Yankees do make the most sense is that they have someone waiting in the wings, and they also have the farm system to be able to do it. And I think, even the spare part of Donaldson to put in the deal to make the salaries sort of even out so luxury taxes aren't affected. And not only that, but the Yankees need him so bad. This Yankees team is dog shit right now. When I say dog shit, I don't mean it's like they're the A's. But if we're talking about a team that wants to be in the playoffs, they're fucked.
But here's my point. I don't think adding him, he's Shohei Ohtani, obviously. I think there's so many good players removed that I don't think it's a one-player
I don't think it is that case, though. With the wild card, I'm not saying they're going to catch the Rays or the Orioles necessarily, but they're absolutely a wild card team. And then if Rodon can get his shit together, I throw away the Colorado start because we can't count.
Oh no, yeah.
So let's say Rodon can by September become the Rodon we saw last year with Cole and Ohtani going to the playoffs with a lineup of Ohtani and Judge. That's a very good. That's a great team.
Also, factor in Judge Ohtani back to back in a lineup and how many great pitches the guy who's hitting after whoever it is. I guess it would be Ohtani hitting third. Think about how many pitches they would get. I would say if they were to get this done, and it ain't happening. It ain't happening.
Why?
But if they were to get this done, it'd be very funny to see how they fucked up the management of Shohei Ohtani because they would because they just don't do things the correct way.
I think that Shohei Ohtani is the perfect person to come in and get that fucking Yankee Way rule book and respect the shit out of it and love it and embrace it or whatever that level of seriousness and intensity or whatever we talk about in these kind of abstract terms of being a Yankee and the pressure and all this shit. Dude, I think he's made for it. I think he wants all the pressure. I think that motherfucker would love it. And I think there's some level of he probably wants to be there.
Well, here's the thing. I agree with you. The culture, the legacy, the chance to elevate yourself to a new level of stardom is amazing and appetizing. There is a difference between handling the LA laid back fans and media and New York City.
Bro, he's going to hit 60 home runs this year, and he's going to strike out 200 batters.
Let me do a counterbalance to that, Hubs. You're right. It is different in LA and New York. However, he's never been to a playoff series before. He goes to New York. They have a deep run in the playoffs. He's not going to have some sort of affinity for the that he doesn't even know to have yet. If they go to the World Series with him, they're going to have such an inside track to re-sign him.
That's what I said. You have those 2.5 months to just build that change in his brain.
They should get him. No disrespect to Volpe. And I know we like him here. He's got a good face. I was saying it when you were here last week. So Klemmer likes him. I like him. Obviously, Hubs likes him. You get a chance to get Ohtani for the reasons we're talking about here. They instantly become with Shohei Ohtani my AL favorite if Judge is healthy.
Really?
100%.
Yeah. Oh,
well, okay. No. I'm not saying AL. I'm not saying that. But they get a lot better. And
bro, they're better. They're instantly better than the Rangers. They're instantly better than the Astros. Instantly better than the Rays. Instantly more dangerous. You're talking about Shohei Ohtani is a top 5 middle of the order hitter. He is a top 5 pitcher.
I just watch this team every day, and they make me so sad.
And you're talking about him pitching behind Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
We're
Rodon.
talking about him starting a rotation. We're talking about Carlos Rodon throwing his 100th inning in October.
With
Throwing his
that bullpen the
80th inning.
Yankees have, too.
It would be funny for him to be in a rotation where he's clearly not the ace.
315
He'd
down
be
the line
game
to
two,
right.
man.
What is it? 315 to right? 320
Yeah.
to right?
314.
And it's a cathedral, bro. He is one of the very few players in Major League Baseball that would walk into Yankee Stadium and instantly get just like a little bit better.
I
Because he
think
would just love it. He'd be
For-
walking the canyon up. What the Canyon of Greats or the
Canyon
hallway?
of Heroes.
Dude, he'd be out there taking selfies at 10 o'clock in the morning with a coffee, texting his buddies back home like, "Look at Babe Ruth's statue. I get to
Now,
play here."
I
believe that.
have a clear distaste for Hal Steinbrenner and how he runs this team. We can talk about the fucking advertising patch for starters, all that. He just ruins everything. He's a businessman though at heart, right? So like George just cared about winning. He goes, you know what? We don't need to care about all this other outside shit. Just fucking win and the money will come. Like I don't care about payroll. This Hal is not his father's son and treats the team like a business, trying to turn a profit. That being said, if you're going to tell me that Hal doesn't think bringing in a guy like Shohei, that gets you the entire market out there. You get a whole different extra millions of audience to every single Yankees baseball game. That brings all the money. Yep. I almost think like Hal thinks of Shohei like that and not like this guy makes this much better. He goes, you know what? You see how many extra people are going to watch us so we have Shohei Ohtani? And if that's the case, then maybe they are actually serious for him. Like they said, they were serious last year. Supposedly they made a serious offer last year, and the Angels balked. It's a little bit different now, I guess, because he's just fucking leaving. I still would be shocked. But if you think of it from a business perspective, maybe Hal is very on board for this.
Yeah, well, that's just real quick, Klemmer. That's going to translate into free agency too. You're going to have teams that normally would not spend the kind of money that are going to be willing to spend for Ohtani.
100%.
Outside of him being the best player of a generation, there is a brand that he brings that is uncomparable to anybody else. But what you just explained is the exact reason. As cool as all this is, it's the exact reason why Shohei Ohtani will not be traded. Because Artie Moreno has a business model with the Angels that from a business standpoint, I hate this, works. They suck. They're not competitive. They don't make the playoffs, but they put butts in seats because they employ two generational players. And they're going to continue to do that until that contract runs out. Yes, of course, from a team standpoint, would it be better to trade Ohtani, get something back? Absolutely. But you know what? If
you're going to make him trade him.
What's that?
I think they can make him trade him. I think the league makes Art Moreno trade him.
I hope so.
He's a free agent in 2 months. What does it matter?
I think the owners and the collusion and the shit that goes on behind the scenes are going to go to the Angels. They're going to be like, fuck it, trade this guy.
So if I were to put odds, Carl, that you think he's traded, what are you putting it at?
I would be very surprised if he's not traded.
Would you say he's a minus? He would be a minus number?
Yes. I'd put it at minus 350.
Whoa! Ooh.
Wow!
I wouldn't go that high, but I think he's traded as well.
I mean, you'd have to be an absolute. You'd have to be more. The Angels should trade him. They have to trade him. It'd be more honest not to trade him. So that package all that up. But the other shit I'm talking about, there's pressure. There's gonna be pressure from the league. There's gonna be pressure from other owners. There's a fucking thing there, guys. There's 30 owners. They work together. They run the league. We think it's Rob Manfred. It's not. Rob Manfred is the commissioner that represents these 30 owners. And I'll guarantee you that it's in the best interest, more than ever at this juncture, it's in the best interest of baseball for Shohei Ohtani to be on the biggest stage imaginable. And there's all these fucking reasons.
But you can make the same case last year, Carl.
Yeah, no, I can't. I cannot make the same case. I absolutely cannot make the same case because this year's different because he's got 2 months left on his deal and Trout's
done.
And the Angels can't have no sniff at the playoffs. Nothing. Yeah. He's done. It's all done. Right. Blow it up.
My next question.
I agree.
My next question. So I asked about the odds. Now, this is a conversation I have with Klemmer.
Minus 200. I changed. Minus 200. I changed.
Okay, that's a little bit better. 350 is like, okay.
Yeah, that was stupid.
I had this conversation with Klemmer walking back from the movies the other day. We were talking about big names in the last 5 or so years that got traded. Do you think if the trade happens and it pops up, Jeff Passan announces it in his dramatic way, because it will be dramatic. Do you think your first reaction would be like, "Oh, that's a haul," or do you think you're going to be underwhelmed? Because if you think about it, the only trade that's happened recently where I was like, haul, was Juan Soto. Recently, Mookie Betts, disaster. Who else? What else were we naming?
Verlander.
Verlander, very
Anything
underwhelming.
the Cubs got, which doesn't even
Right.
count.
So do you
Nothing.
think? Do you think the Angels get that haul that like is being floated out there? Well, I guess not by that idiot Samson, but what's assumed, right? 3 top 10 guys, maybe an MLB level will play. Like, do you think that's the case, or are we going to come back and it's going to be like that's it because it's
I
a
think
rental?
they do because we're just coming off a draft, and that drafts usually boost top prospect list. And I also think the quality of the minor league player has gotten better. So teams are going to be more willing to let go of guys within their top 10 because guys within I think the top 20 is now closer of what a top 10 meant when you were like, oh, these guys, there's just the quality of player. And the reason also MLB shrinking, it used to be 50 rounds, 45 rounds not long ago. Now it's down to 20. There's a reason. And the quality of the international prospect. So that there's just a better supply of players where I think teams are going to start to, they should. The Yankees should be able to I really hope the Yankees make a player for Ohtani. And the more we talk about this, but
Carl, to your point too, I just thought of one where there was another big haul, Hubs. Louis Castillo. When he got traded, that was a pretty good haul. And it helped the Reds instantly, obviously. But like that was a pretty. So I think Carl, it's a great point. Like where we saw them retract some of those rookie league ball teams, which I think sucks for those communities. That was really shitty how Major League Baseball did that. Another reason I don't like Rob Manfred. But to Carl's point, though, the minor league player quality has gone up, like because you don't have those rookie league guys to throw in there anymore. So I do know this. If Ohtani is traded, we will say, like Soto, it'll be a Soto-like haul where you're like, holy shit. Now, will it equal Ohtani? I don't know. Ohtani's so special and such a unicorn, it might not even be worth 2 months of Ohtani. But it'll be a lot of guys.
I hope so. It's, dude, you're effectively trading for one of the best pitchers at a trade deadline and one of the best hitters at a trade deadline that would be available in the history of trade deadlines. Like we go back, we think like CC Sabathia, Mike Piazza got traded.
Yep.
Dude, like Nomar was a big trade. Like fuck all that. What are we talking about? We're talking about Shohei Ohtani.
I think we can all agree that it would be, no matter if it's the Yankees or whoever, infinitely more fun for the entire sport if he was not on the Angels in a few weeks. Like he's just rotting. Like he's just fucking rotting there, man. It's depressing. And also I think the more we talk about it, the more I think he might. Yeah, I think you might be right, Carl. Because if Ohtani is not traded, I can't properly explain how fucked the Angels are for the next 5 years. They are going to be terrible forever. And that's maybe Trout, gets somewhat healthy again. They got nothing else, man. That farm system, whatever. They're still overpaying Rendon. Joe Adell can't hit his way out of a paper bag. Like they are in awful shape. So for all the people who are pissed off that they wasted the Trout's prime, they are about to pay for it in a big way.
I've got a question. Okay, put yourself in the Angel. Who's their fucking GM right now?
Harry Manasian.
Okay, put yourself in his shoes, and you're,
I fucking hate him.
That bad. Okay, but Moreno is like, all right, let's fucking do it. I give in. It's the right move. That's not going to happen. Would you aim to maximize the prospect haul you get back, or would you say you got to take Rendon's deal too, and then and then give us some? Like, do you like? Because
I would
Rendon,
take Rendon if I was the Yankees.
Rendon's
what was he
38
million?
38 million through 2026.
Jesus. Yeah.
Well, because remember, that's what lowered Mookie Betts' thing, right? Didn't they make the Dodgers take David Price, and that's why they got shit back? So right. So okay, now that I'm putting myself in the Angels' shoes and how I think they'll fuck this up, I think they will include Rendon because it's a mistake.
Rendon has a no trade. He's got to have a no trade. There's no
He'll waive it.
No fucking way Rendon waive it. No, bro. I'm sorry to be. Nah.
Actually,
No
he is so
way.
laid back. Like, he might just be
Dude.
okay with, like, being a, yeah. In seconds.
Yeah, of
In
course. Yeah.
seconds.
Bro, I'm
It's-
driving out to LA to pick them up.
I don't have any sympathy for when it comes to, oh, the Yankees have to pay this now with how much. But now you have Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge on your team for and Garrett Cole for the next 4 years. Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I have another question here. I keep coming up with very interesting questions here.
Okay, yeah.
Take the Yankees out, like a team like the Yankees.
The
Would
Reds.
you could right a team that or like the Rockies just had that fucking terrible quote, the owner, but not them. A team kind of in the hunt here, but you have no intentions of paying Ohtani. Could you justify making the trade for 2.5 months of Ohtani to give yourself
Yeah,
like
the
that?
Rays. The
Yes.
Rays.
So,
Yeah, we
so
want
you
the
think
Rays
the
to sign
Rays?
Ohtani.
You could
Or
see
to
the Rays
trade
giving
for
up a
Ohtani.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think the Rays have been. If you're watching on YouTube, lost a lamp.
R.I.P.
Bro, it's a new living room. This is a swivel chair. It's a nice lamp
So
actually.
you think a team would justify not trading for him, giving up a haul and a half, and just being like, yeah, this is just for this year.
I think the Orioles.
100%.
I think the Orioles could do that because the Orioles need a number one ace pitcher and they need one more bat in the middle of that lineup. Well, fuck it. Why? Yeah, you'd probably have to give up. They have a great farm system, a great haul of prospects you could give up, and it would be he goes there for 2 months. The Orioles haven't won a playoff series since I was a fucking freshman in college, dude. If he gets there and they make it to the ALCS, make it to the World Series, or win a World Series, regardless of what they gave up, it's one of the great trades in the history of baseball.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Don't worry
they
about Jackson Holiday. Will be in town next week. The Orioles are definitely off the table because the Orioles are getting Lucas Giolito, dude. They're getting like the ghost
Yeah.
of fucking somebody. They're not like
Yeah.
they don't have that base. Now I shouldn't. It would be nice. It would be nice. I like that.
Well, he
Mhm.
does. Erod has an opt out, so it makes it kind of weird. But yeah, that could be a thing.
Okay.
It would be. I'd like to see Ohtani go to a team that like we don't. If it's not the Yankees, then I want it to be a team that no one saw coming at all.
Toronto.
Dude, Astros.
Giants?
No,
Giants.
the Dodgers. No, that's not where I don't need that. That's fuck that. Well,
Diamondbacks.
no, that's where he probably goes,
Brewers?
especially
Arizona,
No. How about the
Joey
Blue
Wiemeyer?
Jays?
Blue Jays,
Toro-
maybe.
Toronto.
Maybe.
Yeah, that was yeah.
What
'Cause
about the Braves? Do the Braves have enough?
I don't think the Braves system is so strong. I don't think I just when I say system, I don't mean farm system. I just mean the way they go about things. I don't think they're going to rock the boat that way. Like, yeah,
Yeah, but imagine the Braves do it and they lock him in for like $100 million deal over 15 years.
yeah.
They put that spell over him and it's like,
Alex
here you go.
Anthopoulos signed Shohei Ohtani to a 5-year, $20 million deal.
Yes.
Do the
Well, they're off
Phillies
the
have
They're
the?
off the. No, Phillies ain't
No.
doing that shit.
Do they have the? Like I don't know these teams' farm
Madman.
systems off the top of my head.
I mean, you'd have to give up. You think Bryson Stott and then 3 other prospects?
No, Sosa's the infielder.
Hey, what
Isn't
about
it
the Padres? What about the Padres?
That would be so funny if people were like, "Oh, are they going to
Padres
sell?" And
went
like,
all
"Nope,
in.
Ohtani."
Ohtani.
And guess what? We're starting him twice a week. Don't care.
Preller would do it. Preller would do it. It's oh man, who would think like you have to be such a bad organization? Like I honestly do feel like are we talking about this is like the Reds and the Red Sox in 1919? Like the guy's trying to finance a fucking play, so he sells Babe Ruth to the Yankees for 100 grand. It's like how bad, how desperate, how many bad decisions did you make? How many things had to go wrong
Yeah.
in order for you to be in a position where you never even fucking competed? You never even like you never even fucked up in the playoffs. You never even like fucked
Right.
up getting to the playoffs. Like you just
We get
never once ever. And the most exciting thing Shohei Ohtani will do in his major league career up to this date will be getting traded by far. The most relevant, talked about, Google searched fucking
yeah.
thing that captivates the world's attention is where does he go when he finally leaves the Angels, which is
Yeah.
just
It's,
unbelievable.
yeah. No.
Last stupid
It's
question.
okay. No,
No.
no, stupid. These have been great questions, Hubs. I've enjoyed each and
Ohtani
every one of them.
Ohtani is the runaway MVP right now, right?
Yes, for sure.
So he gets traded to the NL. How's that work?
He wins
Ooh,
both. He wins
question.
both.
Just-
Does he win?
fucking
Does he win
first
AL?
ever wins.
I don't think he wins. I bet he would get votes in both leagues, but I don't think he would not win either one.
wait, he would be eligible for both?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
Rick,
I want.
Rick Sutcliffe won the Cy Young in 1984 after getting traded to the Cubs, and then won the National League Cy Young.
Corey Seager, I think. Right, that's the first one that comes to mind for me.
Corey Seager, in parentheses, no shift. Corey Seager.
Right.
There's two different players. It's like Adam Scott with the belly putter in golf. Once they outlawed the belly putter, like he was a good putter, except it's the reverse. I got to think of a better example for these baseball guys. You have no fucking clue what I'm talking about.
I think
Uh,
Wander Franco would have more of a say than some people think. He's the leads American League and wins above replacement.
yeah,
Right
but
now.
you would need the voters to vote for him, and they wouldn't do that.
That's a fair point. Yes, definitely true.
They'd be like, "Well, he got suspended by Kevin Cash."
Yeah.
I hate owners. Owners would. Boys, we are just going to go through the 1 through 9 real quick here before we round things out. Exciting 1 through 9. A lot of
I'm out of
fluctuation.
questions too. I'm out of
Well,
questions.
hey, you want to call me later and just fire a couple off? I'm here. All right, Captain. Okay, we got 1 Braves, 2 Orioles, 3 Rays, 4 Dodgers, 5 Rangers, 6 Blue Jays, 7 Astros, 8 Giants, 9 Philadelphia Phillies. Reds are on the outside looking in. Brewers are on the outside looking in. AL Central is a dumpster fire. No more Diamondbacks. The Giants are officially the second team from the NL West in the mix. Mariners, no one wants to say a word about them. A lot of shit going on, man. Mets fucking suck. It's been a. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Well, one more example that came to mind was when CC Sabathia got traded
I
to the
was
Phillies.
thinking that.
He
Yeah.
finished 5th for the Cy Young and 6th for the MVP, and he made 17 starts. Fucking why in the National League? What's that? You could make a strong argument. You could make a
Did
strong
that
argument.
the game he pitched? It was like 3 days rest. not complete game shutout.
Just insane.
And hey, right, and I love this shit. As soon as he throws he strikes a guy out or gets a ground out to end the game, just like untucks his jersey, just like walks out, just full on get the fuck out of here mode. Also on the subject of CC Sabathia, if you get time, just like Google the video of him hitting a home run in the high school alumni game. It's a video of CC Sabathia hitting with an aluminum bat like 2005, 2006, and I want to say the ball goes 900 feet. This is the Barstool Baseball Power Ranking Show. This has been a good ranking show. Like I said, a lot of fluctuation. But just look ahead to this week here, guys. What's the big thing on your mind? What are you guys looking forward to? What is the big baseball storyline? I will not start. I will let Castellani start.
I'm curious to see, because this happens every year, which team jumps the gun first for the deadline. There's always that one team that says, fuck it, we're not waiting until the end of July. We're not waiting until early August. We got to pull the string. I have a suspicion it will be the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think that Klemmer alluded to it earlier. They're starting to stumble a little bit. They know that they can't let this slide and go 3, 4, 5 games back of the Dodgers. They got to jump out in front of it. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a big move made this week already.
Klemmer, what do you got?
I would say it's going to be wild when the Yankees trade for Ohtani and then he starts against the Angels this week.
You know what? I want to offer up. I want to see who gets fired first, because the only reason you fire managers early is so you can get a head start on the job search. So it's like, do you want to keep Buck Showalter around for the rest of the season, or are you willing to get rid of him now so that you can go start the preliminary conversation?
I think they're keeping him.
Yeah, I know that just.
Yeah.
Good point.
Interesting. Well, it's good stuff. This will be about the time you start to see around August, or we have like 2.
Probably.
Now, as we go through the top 9, are there any teams like the Cardinals? I mean, they should have fired Oliver Marmol, like 2 months ago when we said it. That's really the only team I can think about. I don't think Buck Showalter getting fired would have made the Mets pitching any better.
No. For sure.
Yeah. But who fires Bob Melvin? I mean,
he's too well respected, I feel like.
Bob Melvin, dude.
Yeah.
Peter Seidler, he will get fired at the end of this year, but midseason, I don't think Peter Seidler is the type of guy to do a midseason fire. He's a little too chill, laid back. Guys, this is the Power Ranking Show. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe wherever you are finding it. Obviously, we would love your support on YouTube. We will be back on Wednesday with a little bit more MLB headlines. Until then, thanks for tuning in.